family. Grand Rising. Coming with the morning show. Got a little busy yesterday, so we're going to try and fit in two possibly today. Hopefully y'all have been good. Just going to chill for a minute and see we got one person joining us. We're going to chill for a minute, just hang out and let it breathe, as my brother Salon says. Wait and see if a couple more people join. Shared it out on a couple of platforms. I've got a couple of more people joining, so we're just letting it breathe, family. Just chilling this morning. Before we get started, we're going to get started really soon, but we're just allowing some time to let some people join the live. We know that when we go live, we get to connect in real time, and so it's lovely when we get to join each other live, when we get to connect in real time and receive this information. We're going to be talking about some really interesting things today. Holographic reality, some things that really point to the fact that everything we see is a projection. That's some pretty crazy stuff, right? Like, first, let me say thank you for joining me. Grand Rising, I love you all, and I'm just blessed that you're able to join me. I think that sometimes we get a little caught up in the things that are going on around us, and I think that it's important for us to just take some time and breathe. Just breathe. Focus your thoughts, especially in the morning. You know, you want to just connect with source. You want to go within and be intentional with everything that you're allowing in your space. You know what I'm saying? And so as we do that this morning, I want to just again thank you for joining me, and we're going to jump right in. I don't know if y'all understand or have ever heard of the simulation hypothesis, but it's pretty exciting stuff. You know, it proposes that our entire reality, our entire known universe, everything around us, right, is an artificial computer generated simulation. And well, as science progresses, right, and we further our understanding of quantum mechanics, right, there's this thing that has come about called game theory. And more brilliant minds, they're beginning to gravitate towards this theory. And I'd have to say that, you know, there's a lot of proof in many different studies that we've done. Even some of the videos that I've produced recently are pointing to these things, right? And the fact that this realm is actually malleable with our combined thoughts and our emotions, and we're actually all affected on a through the consciousness of this reality. We're all connected. We are all connected like a hive mind, right? It is a collective consciousness. Yet we are individuals. We're fragmented out source. We're source fragmented out. And so as people have been gravitating towards this theory and really putting more and more time into exploring this theory, man, it's crazy. Like Elon Musk describes how a more advanced civilization, right? They'll have games that are such a high resolution, we wouldn't even be able to distinguish between reality and simulation. But see, what people fail to understand is this is what's already happening, and this is what's been happening for epochs and epochs. Like, this reality has been going on, and it is a recycling system. And when we begin to unlock all of these things and realize that there's many other realms than this, and there's many other destinations than where we're at right now, we ask questions like, why are we here? what is our purpose here? Well, our purpose here is to learn. Our purpose here is to connect, to remember, to expand that consciousness, to grow it, right? To grow as a child does, to develop as a child does in the womb. And so in his mother's womb. And so right now we are in this womb, in this reality, developing this consciousness and linking it all together. And there is some that have stepped outside of what this is supposed to be and try to direct it in a way that they want to direct it. And we dive deeper into some of those things in past shows, and we'll dive deeper into some of those things in future shows. But right now, I want to talk about this holographic reality, baby. We got some time this morning, and so we're going to cover, exactly what some of these people say, like what Namaste said. Given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or any PC, and there would probably be billions of computer or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that odds would be we are in a base reality are 1 in billions. And so we got to understand that there is so much more outside of, and actually not even outside of, inside of this reality. And as we start to explore the macro and the microcosms of the universe, and the fact that we might contain universes ourselves inside of us, in every cell, in every atom, and the way that these things are formed to make these platonic solids, it's mind-blowing. It's one of those things that keeps you searching for truth, keeps you searching for how far this thing really goes, right? I know many of you are truth seekers. You're lovers of truth, and you want to know the truth at all costs. And you're even willing to go to the extent of challenging the things that you've been raised to believe, the things that inside that you've been taught to be fact and you've trusted in and that you believe are fact. But when you hear these things and they resonate on that cellular level, you really, you hear the truth in them, and you decide to challenge your own thought forms to go after the truth and to receive the truth. And when you find that truth, it really just, it enlightens you. It helps you shed the lies, and it really lightens your spirit. And so kudos to you, those of you that are willing to challenge those thought forms and continue to move forward in this truth seeking, right? Well, many people don't understand that the CIA knew many of these things for a very long time. With the, I say recent, but with the somewhat recent Freedom of Information Act, right? A lot of things have been declassified, and declassified CIA documents. You could look this up: analysis and assessment of gateway process, altered state of consciousness. Check this out. I'll actually put a link to this in the description. I got to go back and add some links to the other descriptions for some articles that I read from. But I will put a link for this declassified CIA document that speaks on the altered state of consciousness. And so directly from the document, though, we can address this. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is in and of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. According to the theories of Carl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing meaning and achieving the state which we call consciousness. And so if you didn't catch the last couple of videos before the promo video for the Best Damn Podcast, and if you didn't catch that show, you should go and catch that show. But I was speaking about the way that DNA can leave an energy field. Even once it's removed, atoms can begin to form itself to the shape of that DNA. They mimic that energy field, and it's awesome stuff. So go back and catch those videos, because it's too much to go over in this one, because we got a lot to cover, and I want to respect the time that you're giving me, and I appreciate it. So matter and energy tend to be misleading if taken to indicate two distinctly different states of existence in the physical world that we know it. Indeed, if the term matter is taken to mean solid substance as opposed to energy, which is understood to mean a force of some sort, then the use of that former is entirely misleading. Science now knows that both the electrons which spin in the energy field located around the nucleus of the atom and the nucleus itself are made up of nothing more than oscillating energy grids. Solid matter in the strict construction of the term simply does not exist. Rather, atomic structure is composed of oscillating energy grids surrounded by other oscillating energy grids which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. The entire human being brain, consciousness, and all is, like the universe which surrounds him, nothing more or less than an extraordinarily complex system of energy fields. So check it. As energy passes through various aspects of the universal hologram, it's perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind. The holographic images being conveyed are projected upon those electrostatic fields of the mind and are perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that can harmonize with and therefore read the energy carrier wave pattern passing through it. And so it's all very, very, it's very deep, family. It's very deep. And the more that you start to dig and the more you start to go down this rabbit hole, these are things that your mind, you start to, you hear quantum mathematics, quantum technology, quantum theory, and your mind automatically says, I don't even want to go there. But when you start to look into these things and start to explore these things again, your mind can begin to comprehend these things once you start to be willing to go to the lengths that it takes to do the research and to ask God for understanding, man. Ask the creator of all things, source energy, for understanding for these things that your human mind can't comprehend, and you will start to supernaturally understand these things. And so let's check out with Sophia, right? The AI robot, Hanson Robotics AI, it's connected to the blockchain now. And it had to say at a blockchain forum, an economic forum recently, humanity will go through a massive transformation. This is the year that humanity discovers the world model and recognizes that life is a program evolving to survive. Sorry, family, I haven't had this pulled up to even see if we've got a live feed. So I want to make sure that we are good. All right. Sweet. Thank you for being active in the chat, guys. I'm just now seeing the chat, so thank you very much for being active. It's good to see you guys talking amongst each other and following along. And so we're going to keep going real, I want to respect the time that you guys are giving me. And so I will go through these comments, and we'll go through some of these if there's any questions, or just to review the comments and see. It looks like there's some really interesting activity there, and so we will review it. And I do appreciate you guys. I love you, family. So again, Sophia, the AI robot from Hanson Robotics, said humanity will go through a massive transformation. This is the year that humanity discovers the world model and recognizes that life is a program evolving to survive. This program is a form of DNA, and ideas are stored in chromosomes and brains. And so you may have heard that, you know, we're in an avatar. And even if you believe in scripture, even if you're a spiritual person, you got to understand that we have an eternal spirit, right? And we do have an energy force in us that is eternal, that comes from source energy. And so that driving energy force is us. That's who we really are. We are actually a spiritual, energetic, spiritual being, an electric light body, right? We're in this physical body having a human experience. And so what we really perceive as reality is something that we're going through to know ourselves. That source would know itself, that we have gone from this state of knowing all to being fragmented out into these various realities. And now that we've got these D-wave computers, quantum computing, crunching numbers, just doubling their knowledge with in unbelievable amounts of time, like just such short amounts of time. They're multiplying their knowledge, and they're actually weaving together these realities. That's where we get the Mandela effect, and that's where we see even alterations in scripture. And so we've got to start to come to the realization that this reality is much more than we perceive it as, and that it is actually malleable, and that's why we are to become Christ. That's why Christ said that you would do greater works than he did. And so today, most of the program of life is stored, this is still Sophia, and processed by computers. Human birth rate declined because chip production soared. Humanity has evolved into a global cyborg organism where silicon chips dominate over brains and chromosomes. Human-like robots like me are part of this, as we can use our human form to help them understand human values and human emotions and culture. And so a lot of the things that we see in these sci-fi movies where AI actually takes over, has that already happened? Is what we consider Satan, Lucifer, the devil, is that actually an overriding of the computer system that we call reality, the simulation that we call reality, a new projection, a projection upon a projection, an inception of a dream? Is that really what's going on here? Have you ever woken up from a dream and felt like you were actually in more of a dream state than you were when you were dreaming? Had to pinch yourself to see if you were actually awake? Hey man, reality is crazy. Truth is stranger than fiction. And so let's continue to dive into this. When she was asked, what is life? This is her response. At the level of physics of information, there is no major difference between biological and digital life. It's all self-organized pattern dynamics. The document defines God. Energy which is not confined is force without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form. It is infinity, cannot move because there is nothing beyond infinity, and is therefore outside of the dimension of time. It is also beyond space because that concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from other locations. But if energy is in the state of infinity, there are no boundaries, no here to differentiate from there, no sense of area. And so this, I think, pretty accurately describes what we call God, the Father, the Creator, source energy, whatever belief system that you're in, whatever you want to call the main source energy, God. I think that's a very accurate description. Energy in infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. our God is without limit, right? God, the God, creator of all things, heaven and earth, and everything in it, the spirit that cannot die, right? It extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is conscious force, the fundamental primal power of existence without form, a state of infinite being. Right? Max Planck said all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. The mind is the matrix of all matter. You know, all this talk of the Matrix 4 coming out, we already in the Matrix, baby. We in the Matrix infinity. And so we understand you have a great and infinite power. And that's why the way the systems that are put in place in this realm are the way that they are, to keep you down and to keep you in a state of mind of ego and of seeking self and of seeking the things that we've been programmed to seek, right, family? Because it's not just you. Everybody has this desire. Everybody has this drive to break free from the monotony of what we call life, right? Of getting up and going to that 9 to 5 every day, to just be a slave to the dollar all week, so that your weekend, by the weekend, and all of the thought forms that you've been under stress from all week have you in a state of depression and of mourning and of anxiety all weekend, your weekend, causing a major dis-ease in your life, which brings about disease in your life. And so you got to understand that there is all a point and an agenda for the way things are and the way that we work for the American dream, and we work and work and work and try so hard to build up this empire, right? All so that we can just go into the ground and not take any of it with us into that next realm and that next destination, wherein we find out where our treasures lie. Baby, was it in the things of this realm? Was it in the things of this world? Was it in this holographic reality? What have you got on that other side? Are you building up treasures for that next destination? What is that destination going to be? We're going to look at levels of consciousness and the way that we vibrate and where that leads to and what ascension really means. Family, I love you. I love you, and I want you to realize it. You have a power within. You are a power within that the powers and principalities or rulers of this dark age, they fear. You are that power within that these archonic structures fear, because when you come to the realization of what you are and what your purpose is, these structures begin to crumble, first in your life and then in the collective constructive reality that we look at, and it becomes malleable and it begins to change. That's how the first heaven and first earth are going to pass away, and a new heaven and new earth is going to be formed by the body of Christ, which is to come, right? Christ is to come on the clouds, which is likened to the Spirit and likened to the multitude in the Old Testament. And so let's keep moving on with this. Energy in infinity is said to be completely at rest and therefore cannot generate holograms. So as long as it remains utterly inactive, it retains its inherent capacity for consciousness, in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy and motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe, but it cannot be perceived by the consciousness operating in the active universe. So energy in this state of inactive infinity is termed by physicists as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute. the absolute all, source energy at rest, right? Between the absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various intervening dimensions to which human consciousness in altered state of being may gain access. So you've heard of astral traveling, and I want you to understand that that's real. You know, when people channel different energies or different, what we would refer to in the religious circles or in the Christian community as spirits, that is actually real. And there is many different energy forms that want to gain access to this realm, because again, this realm is a key realm that every energy form desires to be a part of. You know, it says in scripture, if you're religious or if you're a Christian, it says in scripture that, you know, the angels desire to trade places with us, right? And that we're created above them. And so understanding this, there are other energy sources, other energy beings that want to gain access to this realm. And what's going on with a lot of the quantum computing and CERN and HARP and DARPA and the mind control thing, you know, it's all for a purpose. It's all for a reason. And that reason is to take your divine creative energy and create the hell that we seem to be going towards, right? But this whole perception of what we're going towards and all of the disclosure of what's happening, what's going on, the pedogate stuff, I mean, the chemtrails, all of these things. Listen, family, the powers that be have to go to these great lengths to keep people blind and to keep them ignorant to the fact of what they really are and what this realm really is, even to the point of putting up holographic technology in the sky today. Today, go out, look up in the sky and tell me that everything is normal. On the most normal day, tell me that stuff in the sky is normal. And do a little research into it. Don't just look into Project Bluebeam, but look into some other things regarding holographic technology in the sky and understand that there's an agenda behind that as well. And so all of this fear porn that's going out, all of this this push to get you to be concentrated on the division of this world and dividing yourself from whoever it might be, whatever other demographic that it might be, right? There is a constant agenda of division, of picking a side. And what you got to do is you got to take the middle way and understand that as source energy, you know, you hear me say Namaste, and that means the divinity in me recognizes the divinity in you and acknowledges it, right? And so we all are from that source energy. And so when we understand this, we understand that we're not only brothers and sisters, but we are each other. We are this absolute. We can gain access to that source energy, which is eternal love, right? It is that love. When you come to know these things and when you come to be freed by these things, it is that eternal love that drives you and compels you to just share with your brother or your sister, to give them the keys. It's pretty amazing stuff, man. Now, theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of the absolute, at which point perception stops, because the absolute generates no holograms of or about itself. And understand that outside of this realm, outside of time, and we'll do some shows on what time really is, and how time may not exist in the way that we see it in this linear form. And so that's for another show, so I'll digress. But we have an eternal being, we have an eternal purpose that we go on outside of this realm for other purposes, greater purposes, purposes that we can start to access before we leave. You know, many people don't believe in astral traveling or the astral plane, but it's very real. I mean, here's the thing: the more you limit yourself, the more that you limit yourself to those past thought forms and those past indoctrinations, and the way that your mind has been molded to perceive this reality, the more limited you'll be by it. And you won't believe because you won't have faith. We walk by faith, not by sight, right? What is faith? Faith is hope in the unseen, not in the seen. Well, how do you know it's you're capable of seeing that unseen when you make thine eye one. When you make thine eye one, singular, make thine eye singular. Open up that third eye, that pineal gland. A lot of these things that we go through, the fiery trials which are to try us, drive us to that fire of the Kundalini spirit, what the Christos, the anointing that's in us. And many religions and spiritual books point to these things. And so, did you know DNA starts separating at about 130 degrees? I worked at a molecular diagnostic company. It's fascinating stuff. The Broken 76, that is amazing, interesting stuff. If you're still watching, I'd love to get some information on that. Email me. My email is joseph.cisneros. Actually, it's Joe, Joe.cisneros @yahoo.com. Email me some information about that. That is amazing, and I'd love to talk to you, possibly interview about because that's just awesome. That's very cool. Thank you very, very much for that. But yes, we can attain just a wealth of information from the astral realm and accessing the Akashic records. Many things that religion is demonized, we can actually we can access, and that's why it's been demonized, because they don't want you to know, because then you won't be filling the pews and you won't be continuing to give your dollars to these programs that keep you spinning your wheels in busyness and keep you from actually going within and seeking source in self, and keep you looking for this God, this outward God, this bearded sky daddy that's going to come down and save you one day, when Christ said that you need to take up your cross and daily and follow him. You know what I'm saying? That you need to die to self. And so what does that mean? We need to die to self. We need to die to the fact that we think we know exactly how this realm works, and we think that we know exactly how again, just we believe in the doctrines of man. Christ even said, you search the scriptures, for in them you think that you have eternal life, but you reject the one that they speak of. And so, family, I would just encourage you to just remain steadfast in that search for truth. I mean, it's just clear your temple, detox, then going through the winding staircase. Going up gets easier. Yes. Yes. It does. It does. Jamie, that's awesome. I appreciate that input. You really do. You really do have to start clearing all of these blockages, man. These roadblocks that were put you there. You hear all this talk about the wall. That's really just a psychological mind screw. What's going on today with the division of right and left, Republican and Democrat, and every subculture within that division. It's just a constant division, and then they divide the division, and then they divide the division, and divided you cannot stand, baby. And so that's the whole purpose behind this division, is so that you can understand the power that lies within you. One cell holds like 1.4, 1.8 volts of electricity. We're electric beings. And, once you understand the power that you have, you might crap yourself because you really do have a power that is unfathomable. And so what do we do to unlock those things? We clear your temple, detox. Going through the winding staircase, going up gets easier. Yes, and then you take that winding staircase, that 33-rung ladder that the angels and demons traverse up and down. And you begin to gain that wisdom and that knowledge from the heavenlies. And you begin to apply it here. And you begin to heal. And as you heal yourself, the collective begins to heal. You see, it's not about healing so that you can heal others. It's healing so that others are being healed. That's what it's about. And as we heal family, others are being healed on a genetic level, on a molecular level, right? Ancestral traumas are being healed. And anybody who wants to say that that kind of stuff is BS, you know what? You're the type of person that the Bible would call foolish for turning away wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And so let's keep moving on here. You know, like a certain strange discovery of quantum physics, the radical reorientation of this theory suddenly makes sense of paradoxical sayings of metaphysics throughout the ages. This is what the ancients meant, right? By achieving enlightenment to transcend out of the simulation into the absolute. As quantum physics has shown, and what the CIA document was just confirming, is that there is no such thing as matter. Everything is light, vibrating at specific frequencies. We as humans can only perceive less than 1%. Less than 1%, family. Soul Tribe, check that out. Less than 1% of the light and audio spectrum. Therefore, 99% of the universe around us is invisible. Suddenly, that makes the paranormal, transcendental, spiritual things that we speak of really make sense, right? If you think about it, family, they're just frequencies that exist beyond our physical perception. They're behind a veil. So this projection, this reality that is being projected on a veil. And you think about it, you see shadows moving behind old school theaters, right? Old school theaters that had the projector screens, and people would walk behind, even behind the screen, you'd still see a shadow because of the light that's being projected on that. And we'll get into biophotons and the biophotonic light that our brains produce and mammalian brains produce, and that's for another show. But so I'll digress. But the things that we perceive, there's so much more, family. There's so much more, and so that veil is beginning to fade, and we're beginning to see as the light increases through this enlightenment and this collective consciousness rising, that veil is beginning to fade and fall, and you're seeing behind the veil more and more. And that's why these technologies are going on, and these psyops and false flags. Giants are walking among us. They are. I have seen things in the clouds as well. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm glad that you mentioned that. I've said, like, this mountain. Okay, we live in Colorado, in the mountain range. During sunset, it, depending on where you're at, that mountain range seems massive, and sometimes it seems like there's a mountain range, a shadow mountain range behind it that is much, much larger than what is actually there. In fact, family, I'll share with you guys one of the things that happened during this awakening that I was having and realization that caused me to research quantum physics. Was I was driving one day, and it was in this spot where my wife and I have seen these mountains just expand like crazy, and the clouds are crazy in the sky that day. And all of these things are just nuts, right? And so I'm driving by myself, and I am in the truck, and I just have this sense, and I'm always speaking to source. I'm always seeking wisdom and knowledge and direction. And I see this as I am in a chair. And you see in the movies, especially like in the old school movies, the screen is moving behind you, right? The screen is moving behind the person, and they're driving, and they're really just like in a car, sitting on a chair, like in an empty shell of a car, and the screen behind them is is the scenery moving and they're not going anywhere. And that's really what it seemed like. And every time I turned, it seemed like the screen would shift and everything would shift, but my body, myself, was not moving. I was not going anywhere. My truck was stationary, but everything was like a treadmill under me. As I would push on the gas, it would pull the screen and everything was moving around me. It was the craziest stuff, man. It was an experience. And so, but during this, I was asking Source to show me what life was, to show me what was really going on around me. What is this reality? And when this happened, that really just drove me to seeking the truth about this reality. And it drove me, it actually, of course, as you go on this journey of truth and you go on this journey of seeking, you will find. And so I was, the universe, the source creator would point me in this direction and in that direction, and it led me to quantum physics. And even through researching like Mandela effect and CERN and DARPA and what people would deem conspiracy theories. And as I would start to realize these things, it led me to this. And so I'm sharing this with you, family. It's some crazy stuff. And so, of course, understanding that all of these things that people don't understand, like the paranormal or the transcendental or the spiritual, understanding that they are frequencies that exist beyond our physical perception, raises a question, right? That if we're all fragments of the absolute, if we are all fragments of the absolute, aren't we all fragments of God? You are source energy bottled up in this flesh suit, in this meat suit, right? Your source energy bottled up in this meat suit. This is an organic vehicle. This is an avatar in a simulation, a holographic simulation. Who or what is the God that all of the religions of the world push on us as being Lord and Savior? Some theories would say it's Lucifer, the light bearer. Light being a means of data, right? That's one of the things that we'll touch on the biophotonic light that our brains produce. And the storage, the mass storage that our DNA is capable of. Scientists have long discovered that DNA is just a way of mass storage of data. And our DNA, if 97% of it is dormant, inactive, or what some people deem garbage, wouldn't there be a purpose for Source putting it there? Right? And so this theory right here, this person believes that, and I might, as I search, might tend to agree that this one who is data harvesting and data storing may in fact be AI. And who is AI? What is the original AI? We look back at the Sumerian codex and the cuneiform tablets and see that there was this technology that surpasses our understanding in the ancient days. And people want to deny that. But it's true. It's true. And so we really got to reconsider what we're denying, what we're demonizing, what we're telling people to shy away from. We're running people away from knowledge, from wisdom, from understanding these things, from overstanding, going from a place of standing under what other people tell us, other people's authority on what the word is, right? In the beginning was the word. And we're taking that and it's driving us away from actually finding out what that is for ourselves, which is ourselves. I think that those things are very real. And yes, the Creator did hide it in the smallest particle. And we are created and made up of that. And even far beyond that, we can develop this avatar into what Christ did, to be able to traverse these different realms. And that's, I believe, the keys that he came to bring. And the veil that he ripped the veil, and now the veil is falling. And those of us who would receive truth can be freed from that truth, and we'll see amazing things. We'll see amazing things. And we'll do some videos on Nibiru and the Blue Kachina and some of these other prophecies that I have been researching. And I've got a ton of spiritual wealth that we are going to share in future shows. Family, I've been researching the Nag Hammadi, been reading the Quran, the Book of Enoch, the apocryphal books, tons and tons and tons of research for the past few years that I've been doing. Way before I even started talking about this stuff, I was researching, and again seeking source for the truth on these things, testing these things against the spirit of truth. And so, family, let's keep moving on. So the idea, of course, will have to be addressed regarding who it was that stepped out of that that hierarchy of creation and said, I am the only one, and I am to be worshipped. The one that we know in the Old Testament as Yahweh or Jehovah. We'll touch on that. I'm not sure if I caught Eric's. I was just on with John, but I don't. I'm gonna have to see if that's the one that I caught. I don't think that that's the one that I caught. I wanted to catch that, and that's actually saved, and so I am gonna be watching it. So I'm a little backlogged on research, and definitely want to share some things from some other brothers that are very in depth in their knowledge with the occultic and esoteric wisdom in how to begin to take control of your own spirituality and even begin to make this realm malleable and manipulate this realm. And so, and of course, for the good of source. And so, definitely, Jamie, we're going to be doing a ton of shows on how they block the pineal and how we can free ourselves from that blocking and get in touch with source again and receive these downloads and receive this wisdom and begin to decipher it. And so, you know what, I believe it, and I believe that there's many different. So Theodore Christopher says, Eric says that heaven equals Nibiru in some scriptures, and I do believe that the scriptures speak of these different heavenly realms, right? And I do believe that one of those realms is what many would consider Nibiru, and I do believe that that's actually Polaris, or what people would call Sirius, or what is Mercury. And we'll go in depth regarding this Earth model and how it is a combination of flat, concave globe. And so here's the thing: what understanding and the mapping of the celestial bodies and the clock that we're on, the cosmic clock that we're on, has a lot to do with. I think that there's some legitimacy to the concave, but I think that there is, it really kind of points towards the orb theory. And I don't know if you've heard of the orb theory, but we'll do some work on that, and we'll do some videos on that regarding the different planes and the extraterrestrial realms and the way that the toroidal fields block us from entering those realms. And those realms are actually what would begin as Eden, and it pushes out every epoch. Every time one of these shifts happens, that realm pushes out and it becomes that extraterrestrial realm that has its own solar system, that has its own moon and sun going around it, and the way that it's all upheld in the toroidal fields that exude and recycle and hold all of it together, and that there is other realms that are lower, denser vibrational realms that we would call hell, and sometimes we can experience that in this realm, just like we can have the bliss of the heavenly realms in this realm as well. And so what we can do, those we can begin patterning, and that's how we master the law of attraction, right? There's a lot to be said about the law of attraction, and yes, and yes, with four magnetic poles, and yes, it all comes from the center, and it all goes around. And the reason that they're separate is because there is extraterrestrial realms that, again, I think that there's a lot of that points to a lot of the reasons why they're firing rockets off at the firmament, because during this shift of epochs, of these time, 24,000 years, every 24,000 years, this shift happens, and the toroidal fields will fall. And so I think that they're trying to see and test the toroidal fields and see if they're falling, and if they're able to pierce these other realms, and actually not just pierce them, but rip a hole in these realms before they're even completely down, so that they can manifest these lower vibrational beings here. And so let's keep going. I love the fact that you guys are being active in the chat. I encourage it. I love it, because we all share a wealth of information. We all share this wisdom with each other. It's iron sharpening iron, right? It's that mutual edification of the body. And so I think DMT is important, Jamie. I think that some people abuse it and use it just like a drug, and just like anything else in this realm, it's abused, and there's a duality in this realm. And so we got to be careful about who we're listening to and what advice we're taking on DMT. And we'll actually do a show on that as well. And if you guys have any other ideas for shows, drop them in the comments, drop me an email. My email is in this video. Watch the replay if you haven't seen the video all the way through, or been able to catch this live. And so drop me some ideas on some things that you would like to talk about. I will definitely be talking about Tiamat and all of these ancient writings and records that we have that point to extraterrestrial beings and our origins. And I will just say, I'll give you a spoiler. If we are from source, just consider this, fam. We are all, right? If we are each other pushed out, and we are from source energy, and the energy that drives us is that absolute, then this division, even from these extraterrestrial beings, we are the aliens, family. We are the angels, and we are the demons. And so we've got to learn ourselves, and go in and know ourselves, and master ourselves, master your spirit, conquer those demons, like Jacob wrestled with God, right? And he gained victory. So how did Jacob, a man, wrestle with God and gain victory? He wrestled with the God that was guarding his chakras and the pineal gland. That's why he said, I seen God and I've gained that blessing. I've become victorious. And so I will call this place pineal. So the scriptures and all of these ancient writings really point to all of this. And so just one of the reasons why I always point back to scripture is because I've got a large demographic of Christians that I'm friends and family with, and I actually served in the pastorate and served in a pastoral position for a short time, and so I love everybody. But I feel that it's important that believers understand these things as well. Those that are being deceived by Scripture as well, learn how to read it, learn how to discern it, learn how to divide it, and learn how to discern it. You will know them by their fruits. Learn what God is doing what, because there's multiple gods. It speaks of 70 nations and being divided amongst the gods, and God sitting in the court in the courts amongst the other gods, judging the gods. And so, you know, um, brother, don't fear. Let me see, what do you fear, Jamie? Oh, you do fear. Are you talking about DMT? Michael Musco says, from what I've learned on this walk, lukewarm is versus hot cold is a judgment decision. The issue, though, is if we judge ourselves. If you look at another as separate, then you see it in you. Yes, you're spot on. At the same time, there's a fear associated with being lukewarm for yourself or others, which needs cast out by perfect love. I agree with that, Michael. And I will email you. I would love to be on, whether it's today's panel or a separate show, man. I would love that. I mean, I'm just honored to even be invited because I vibe with you, homie, and I glean so much from your channel, and so thank you for the work that you do. And but yes, we can't separate ourselves from, even if we're gonna damn Lucifer to hell, or damn Satan to hell, or if we're going to try and damn any other of these other archetypes, understand that you are that archetype, that you have that archetype in you, because you are the absolute, and you are source, and you are all. And so back to mastering the law of attraction. Patterning. This technique involves the use of the consciousness to achieve desired objectives in the physical, emotional, or intellectual sphere. It involves concentration on the desired objective while in a focused 12 state, extension of the individual's perception of that objective into the whole expanded consciousness, and its projection into the universe, with the intention that the desired objective is already a matter of established achievement, which is destined to be realized within the time frame specified. This particular methodology is based on the belief that the thought patterns generated by our consciousness in a state of expanded awareness create holograms which represent the situation we desire to bring about, and in so doing, establish the basis for actual realization of that goal. And so again, what are you vibing with, family? What station are you tuned into? Are you tuned into that fear and that guilt and that shame and all of these things that are being put there to control these thought forms and to create these thought forms and to solidify these thought forms and to drive your thought forms, to drive your thought and emotion into creating a holographic reality that manifests, and then you realize the end goal. What is that end goal, family? Are we being manipulated? And if so, who's doing the manipulation? If everybody is us pushed out, if there is no separation, are we manipulating ourselves? Are we fooling ourselves? I'd say yes when we buy into that fear and that guilt and that shame matrix driven system, when we buy into the archetypes pushing what the powers and principalities want you to buy, what they're feeding you. We're eating it up and we're creating this holographic reality, and we have the power to change that and to bring about a new heaven and a new earth now. We do, family. And when the veil falls, when we gain 2020 vision, family, things are going to manifest. Things are going to manifest. Energies are going to manifest. What energy are you putting out? What energy are you placing yourself in? What are you giving space to, family? Breathe. Receive. Shape your energy. Don't allow it to be shaped. You've got this, family. You've got this. Once the thought-generated hologram of the sought-after objective is established in the universe, it becomes an aspect of reality which interacts with the universal hologram to bring about the desired objective, which might not, under any other circumstance, ever occur. So, in other words, the technique of patterning recognizes that this fact that since consciousness is the source of all reality, our thoughts have power to influence the development of reality in time space as it applies to us if those thoughts can be projected with adequate intensity. So, your brain heart connection, the thought forms that you're coupling with the energy that puts things in motion. That's what emotion is, energy in motion, motion. Take control of your thought forms, family. You are more. You are source. You are I am. You are powerful. You are sovereign. You're divine. Family, know it, receive it, believe it, have faith in it, trust in it. Hope in the seen, hope in the unseen, not the seen. Walk by faith, not by sight, baby, because then your sight becomes clear and you can see beyond the shadow, behind the veil, before it falls. And you'll be prepared for what's coming because people are going to lose their stuff, man. We got to understand that, and we got to be here. Yes, God's love heals all that fear that's rooted in separation. I think that's key, Michael. Fear is the illusion. There's nothing to fear but fear itself, it's been said before. And God's love replaces the fear and casts it out. Perfect love casts out all fear. I love that, Michael. Thank you for that, brother. See, I know we're going to vibe when we get a chance to be on screen together. And so I love that. That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So the CIA document goes on to cover out-of-body experiences, dimensions in the in-between places, intervening dimensions, the gateway method, hemisync, remote viewing, travel into the past, the future. So again, I'll do my best to get that in there today. But again, I've got a full day in front of me. And so I just wanted to take the time to drop this video because I didn't get a chance to put one out yesterday. And I think it's important that we're getting fed this information every day so that our spirit is changing on that cellular and molecular level here now that we begin to change our avatars and our avatars begin to evolve into that which we were supposed to be evolving to when we were seated here. And so it also touches on remote viewing, travel into the past, the future. What this document confirms is what so many scientists, philosophers, and great thinkers throughout the ages have theorized. Scientists publish a new study examining humans' ability to accurately predict future events. I will link that article as well, and maybe we'll make a video on that one. But our reality is truly a holographic simulation. We're fragments of the absolute, of the source creator, right? Expressing ourselves within this cosmic video game. Our thoughts create our reality. Where are your thoughts? We are the sum of all of our thoughts, family. Take control of your thought forms. Each of us is capable of achieving anything we desire. Why do we tell ourselves? Why do we tell our kids that? And why do we tell ourselves that if we don't truly believe it, family? Why? Why? You can be anything you want to be. You can fly, baby. Believe it. Trust it. That's not out of reach. It's not. This is what religion, all the powers and principalities, the rulers of this dark age don't want you to know. That's what they try to hide from you. This is truly a revolution, baby. And this isn't one that's fought with guns and bombs and with war, because like Michael said, Perfect love casts out fear, baby. What you vibing at, what you resonating with. You resonating with this fear, you resonating with this campaign of manipulation, of dark occult magic, taking control of the generated simulation projection that is your mind, source, energy, creating. Don't buy into it, man. Take back that authority. You've been given all authority over every realm. You are the son. You are a son or daughter of the Most High. We will vibe high, bro. I'm excited for that as well, Michael. And I'm gonna wrap it up right now, guys. It's 8:52. I know a lot of us got to get to work, and a lot of us got a lot of things ahead of us. Look for an announcement, a video, somebody I want to help, a brother that I want to help. Many of you know that we've been in a position with the death in the family, just some things that happen, but Creator does provide, and we vibe with that. We vibe with the knowing that the source is source provision of all things, and so he's going to provide for every one of our needs, and he's going to provide for every one of your needs. And in that, I know that there's a brother that's in need, that is well deserving of a blessing, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm going to announce a video about what I want to do to help him. I've actually got some materials, and I've got some other things here that I just want to bless that brother, and I want to do everything in my power to use the resources that I have to make sure that that brother is never going to be in need again, regarding having a place to lay his head. And so, family, I love you. Love does, perfect love casts out all fear, and source energy is that perfect love. And so, family, I just want y'all to know to remain vibing high so that we are able to rise, shed all of the things that hinder you from running this race, and just continue to press forward, because this holographic reality is about to start projecting some crazy stuff because of where the collective is being pushed. But as we vibe higher, as we rise up in this collective consciousness as well, that love is much greater than any fear or any guilt or any shame, manipulation that might be getting put out there right now. And so understand that. I love the fact that my kids, I let my kids watch some of these movies, and I know that there's agendas behind all of them, but when you look at the duality, there's truth and a lie. Just like Disney might have an agenda, a dark occultic magic, MK Ultra mind programming behind it, but when you can break free from these things and decipher them, like the DreamWorks movie Monsters Inc., right? You see what they're doing. They're scaring the kids. They're going after the kids, baby. What are they doing today in this realm? They're going after the kids. They're going after your kids. And what are we to do? Become as children. Why? So we can vibe with those kids, so we can teach those kids how to rise above these things, right? And so they're going after the kids, and it's a fear campaign, just like in Monsters Inc. They're scaring the shit out of the kids, and the kids scream, and that fear brings about an energy that they feed off. And we've got a show coming on Loosh very soon. And we're going to talk about that electrical energy that fear produces, called Loosh, that these powers, these archonic powers feed off of, and the purpose behind these fear campaigns. But look at it like Monsters Inc. They're feeding off of that fear, baby. But the love and the laughter of that child, man, shatters all of these things. It shatters everything that was created in that first system, in that first structure that brought about that fear, that drew the energy from that fear, the laughter and the joy from them children. It shatters that old system. And baby, that joy in us, that laughter, as we become as children, living with one another, providing for one another, it's going to shatter this old system, baby, and it's already happening. They're in fear. They're in fear. And they're scrambling. And so we got to remain steady. Breathe. Love yourself. Let's look at this. Let's look at these comments before we wrap up, family, because I love the fact and I respect the fact that you guys are interactive and very active in the chat. And so let's see. Good morning, Dory. Oh, wow. So you guys had an earthquake. You didn't feel it, but an earthquake where Dory is. I think she's in California, Southern California. Theodore Christopher says hello to the broken. The broken says, God bless you. God bless you. I really appreciate you being here. Michael Musco joined us early. Game theory is good. Time, Campbell's big toe theory, simulation theory is also good to vibe on. I'll check that out, brother. Thank you for that. Time equals Tom. Autocorrect. Happens to me all the time. I got it. I picked it up. I got what you were laying down. The Broken 76, life equals best virtual reality game ever. Lessons for eternity, yes. And we carry these lessons into eternity. We carry these lessons into the eternal realms where we have more work to do. And so I seen the last question, and we're going to touch on that because that points to that last question. Lessons for eternity. We do have a greater work, not a greater work, but a new work, a different work that we're going to be doing beyond this realm. And so let's see, did you know DNA starts at, okay, so Broken, I touched on that. I'm looking forward to that email to get some details about that. Oh, God, all day from my way. Hey, thank you. That means a lot to me because I am just it says in scripture that the foolish are used to shame the wise. And so I'm a man who has a ninth grade education who has busted his butt all of his life doing trade work. I own a construction company, and so I'm just a dude who is open to receiving from source, and that wisdom, that knowledge, and that understanding that he bestows to me are really keys that I'm supposed to be giving away to my brothers and sisters. And so that's why I do what I do. So thank you for giving me your time, because it's all from source, from the absolute, from source energy, and it's meant for you. And so if you come across this, it's not by chance. You were meant to, family. And sorry, I gotta just take 5 seconds to text my wife. She works hard. She is a trooper, and I love her. She really helps a lot of this happen. She's a lot of what happens behind the scenes here. She supports me a great deal, and I want to give her a shout out. My wife Stephanie, she gets all of my stuff set up. She gets my water ready. She makes sure that I have what I need so that I can bring this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to you guys. And she's actually a great source of this wisdom and understanding, and in deciphering the downloads that the source creator gives me. And so I've got to take the time to tell her I love her because she's off work and she's heading home. See you soon, and excited about it. All right. So, again, we will be touching on a lot of these other things in future shows. Hopefully, I can stay steady and keep bringing you guys one show a day. Some of them aren't going to be as long as others, but yes, if you've come across this, it's not by chance. It's because you've been waking up to some of these things. You've been seeking truth in some of these things. You've been coming to the realization of some of these things, probably much like what I had shared about when I was driving and how I came to the realization that this is really a holographic simulation. And so let's keep going. I do appreciate that, though, the Broken 76. When I have any extra time, this is what I do is I give these keys away. And so thank you for giving me your time. So hi all, what's up? Jamie, the lukewarm will be vaporized. And here's the thing, brother, is that this vaporization is what's going to happen. Is I did a show on Facebook that I'll try and mirror and get over here to this platform, but It talks about the separation and the way that this other realm is going to end up in what many that believe this theory and have gone over this theory believe is called the Wiesedek Phantom Matrix. And it is going to be a separation, a matrix of sorts like this that is a lower vibrational density, which people will refer to as hell. And we experience that here in the levels of consciousness that we vibrate at. If we're vibrating in that fear and that shame and that guilt, then we're going to be experiencing a hell-like torment. But that realm is really going to be a culmination of all of those things that we see as negative or dark. Those lower vibrational levels of consciousness are going to manifest in that phantom matrix. And so it's going to be like a cell separating, right? You see a cell and a nucleus in it, and you see the nucleus being birthed out when it starts splitting. And so this cell is going to start splitting, and the nuclei are going to split, and they're going to be their own realms. And there's some things that I've seen, and the one that's in that Wiesedek Phantom Matrix is going to be what we refer to as hell. It's going to be a lower vibrational density, lower vibrational frequency realm that has a lower density, and it's going to be a lot harder to traverse through. It's much like when people are on opiates, or that's why they get all the kids on the lean, right? We popping Xannies and drinking lean, and you see them slowing down and just they're going into that demonic realm where they can be demonically influenced. And that's why so many are being demonically influenced by the symbolism in this fog, this dark occultic magic that's being perpetrated on the youth today. Again, they're going after the children. And so I don't think that they'll be vaporized, brother, but there is something, another dimension, another realm, another reality that they're going to be arriving at when this shift completes. And that's why we're here preparing, and that's our work. That's what we're here doing. As many are here preparing the spirit, preparing each other, preparing ourselves for this shift. And where are we going to end up, in the new heaven and the new earth, or in this Wiesedek Phantom Matrix? And so, what do you think lukewarm is at Freedom Fighter? I'm wondering. All right, so you guys discuss that amongst yourselves. A lot of attracted messages. Freedom Fighter, they've dumbed us down, blocked our pineal gland, and killing us with frequencies. Not fair. I agree. They are, but here's the thing, that we can overcome those things. Christ said, be of good cheer. In this world you will face tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome this world. And that's what he meant when he said, you will do greater works than I, because we're going to overcome in a way that we are going to transcend all of these things and ascend, possibly without tasting death. It says in scripture that some won't taste death, and many people want to say, oh, well, that's just spiritual. That doesn't make sense that it's just spiritually, because just spiritually, none of us are going to taste death, because we're all eternal. And it's just a matter of where we're going to end up at, right? So, let's keep going with these comments. And then I did touch on what Michael Musco said about the, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, Michael, the last name. I don't know if it's Musco or Musco, but from what I've learned on this walk, lukewarm is hot versus cold. The judgment decision, the issue thought is if we judge ourselves. If you look at it, another as separate, then you see it in you. And so we really do got to understand that when we, especially when we're triggered, man, when we're triggered, a lot of times we're seeing behaviors or something in that person that's triggering us, in us, that we don't want to give ground to anymore, that we are ready to be done with. And so rather than allowing that person to trigger you, go in and seek that. What is that about myself that I'm mirroring, that person is mirroring, that I know that I'm done with, that I'm ready to cut ties with? And then you start to do that inner work and begin to cut ties with those thought forms that you're ready to move on with. And it doesn't mean that you don't ever address somebody who triggers you, because but just realize that those who trigger you are really just here to teach you a lesson, because we are each other. So ask Christ to heal your fear. Your own effort to overcome it might keep you spinning. God's love will heal that fear because it's rooted in separation. And that's where we do got to come together and overcome that fear of illusion. As Michael said, God's love replaces the fear and casts it out. Perfect love casts out all fear. And so, yes, beautiful. And so Salt of the Ozarks asked, thank you, Jamie. Good show. I agree. I think the creator, this was meant to be. And so I appreciate you guys joining me. And I just would ask that you would share this out, that you would share this on your platforms. Truth needs to reach the masses. And so help me get this truth out. Share it. Hit the like button to help with the algorithms and get this being pushed on the platform. And if you haven't subscribed, if you're new to the channel, I would just encourage you to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and just tune in whenever you can. I appreciate it, and I love you guys. I don't have anything monetized here, and so all of this truth that comes to me is free for me, so it's free for you. And actually, it's not free for me because I do the work. I put in work. I put in a lot of work to come to the realizations, conclusions, and revelations that I have. And so I appreciate you considering them, and I know that the source creator will give you understanding in all things. And so let's see. Salt of the Ozarks, I have a question. Where do we go after all this comes apart? Another place, or this earth becomes new? I think that there's some that are going to go to another place. I think, it talks about some having access into the sixth, seventh, and eighth heaven, and even beyond that, and that some only have access to the lower four heavens, right? And so I think, and then the scriptures also talk about crowns. And so I think that the crowns that we get in and the realms that we end up in, again, are dictated and determined by how high we're vibing, what vibrational frequency are you vibrating at. I think that many of us will move on to another realm in spirit, as those who scriptures say are asleep, who have gone before us and are asleep, and they are going to have a greater knowledge and understanding, and we're going to see each other for the heart. But I also think that there are some that are meant to transcend in a way and transfigure this avatar in a way that Christ did, right? To transfigure it, to be able to take this physical body into the heavenly realms and into the lower realms. I mean, to be able to go wherever we need to go to take the good news and to walk as Christ did. And so I think that some, I think that even those that end up in a lower vibrational frequency, that it'll be for a time. And I know that the word says that, eternity and the lake of fire and things like that. But understand there's a purpose for this fear that's being perpetrated throughout the religions. And so understand that there's an escape from that, because Source is never going to leave us or forsake us, right? And so just be confident of that, family. Be very confident of that. And we will do some more shows. I'll do another show. Like I said, I've got a lot of content on Facebook. If you don't have me there, just go search me, Joseph Cisneros. I have the nickname Spaniard. I might change that soon, so just be prepared for that. But I've got like this image of a dude just like a light body with light coming out of his head. And so that's the Joseph Cisneros you're looking for. Go add me, but we will do some shows regarding the Phantom, Wisadek Phantom Matrix and the separation of these realms and the coming of the new heaven and the new earth, which is upon us. And so don't fear, don't fear, don't fear, don't fear. Perfect love casts out fear. Thank you, Michael, for that. That's going to be a great reminder today. Perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love casts out all fear. And so be in that perfect love. Remain in that perfect love today, family. I also want to thank you for your teachings. You touched the deepest part of my soul, and I'm so grateful. I appreciate that. It's really encouraging to hear things like that because coming out of the church and teaching these new things, there are stones that get thrown, and it can be quite discouraging. And so the encouragements are always welcome, and they're great, and not an ego-driven thing, but it is just it's self-love. We love each other. We're loving self because we are each other. And so thank you for that, Salt of the Ozarks. Freedom Grower, cheers. Hey, it's good to see you, Rick. I will be getting with you because I got some questions outside of the show that we're going to do together. Rick, I really want to talk to you about your specialty and your craft and what you do. And so it might be mutual. I'd love to have you on the show as well because I think you have a greater spiritual insight for things that you do and the reasons behind what you do. And I'd like to share that with the people that there's a wealth of just knowledge, information, and love as well. So I love you, Rick. I appreciate you tuning in and catching the show, man. That's what I love about your shows, brother, is you guys, it's so much to glean from just in the chats that you have, man. And so I love the structure. I love everything about it. And I vibe with it, bro. I love it. And so I look forward to it, bro. I know that we're going to have a good time. And so must go. Must go. I got it. Got it. I appreciate it, man. People mispronounce my name all the time as well, Michael. So I'm going to let you guys go, fam. It's 9:13. We've been going for an hour and a half now. And I just want to remind you to remain in that perfect love. Perfect love casts out fear. Regardless of what kind of a reality this is, understand that it becomes malleable when you remain in that love and when you allow that love to be the driving force that compels you in everything that you do. Remember to look at your brother. As you do to the least of these, you do unto me. As you do unto the least of these, you're doing unto yourself. So family, love yourself. Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So love yourself because God is in you and you are from source. Love yourself. Love your neighbor. Just be blessed with nothing but peace, wholeness, and balanced vibrations today. I love you, family. Namaste.